The first way of telling the story is as follows. There's a small store, jewelry store in Israel, and there's 4 people in it. There's the owner, nice woman that sells the jewelry to make a living. There's one customer that's there to looking for perhaps a present for her daughter and upcoming bat mitzvah. Another customer is a well-to-do woman who comes in and buys a very expensive bracelet. And then another one is a older, homeless, very smelly woman. This is the story. What can you possibly learn from such a story? We'll wait and see as we learn the shiur.
Everything doesn't disappear. It just becomes insignificant. The problems can still be there, the sickness can still be there, but it simply loses its value.
B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, bruchim habayim. We're back here on our Wednesday night, Stump the Rabbi. We're after some divrei Torah. You guys will ask some questions and BeEzrat HaShem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Ilui Nishmat of Kira bat Binyamin v'Hinda Rachel. And also for Leavdil, for Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabba, for Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avimori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahides that continue to learn Torah with us, continue to support Torah, continue to use their resources to help us spread HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name and His truth all over the world, in all 4 corners of the world, Baruch Hashem. Anyone that wants to help us, help the poor people in Eretz Yisrael, can donate to the campaign that we have available now online. The number and the information will be in the information, the description box, or in the comments. If you're located in the U.S., you could even actually dial in to send a donation. All that information, BeEzrat Hashem, will be on the screen. You could text 53555, the word Chesed, Chesed, and automatically you will get a link of the actual campaign. So, with that being said, Rabotai Yekarim, I want to talk to you about something. I want to tell you guys a story. I want to tell you a story that has 2 parts. In essence, there's really 2 ways to tell this story. And I know that many of you have heard stories in your life, but this is a little bit different. Because on one end, we're looking at the Parasha, and we have to learn from it. So why start with a story? Because the story will help us learn from the parasha. The first way of telling the story is as follows. There's a small store, jewelry store in Israel, and there's 4 people in it. There's the owner, nice woman that sells the jewelry to make a living. There's one customer that's there to looking for perhaps a present for her daughter and upcoming bat mitzvah. Another customer is a well-to-do woman who comes in and buys a very expensive bracelet. And then another one is a older, homeless, very smelly woman. This is the story. What can you possibly learn from such a story? We'll wait and see as we learn the shiur. In this week's parasha, Parashat Vayeshev, we see that the brothers, the Shvatim, the holy Shvatim, try everything possible to stop their brother Yosef's rise to greatness. And of course, as we're going to learn in the next few weeks, while they tried one thing, the heavenly decree ruled otherwise. It seems like that's the case many times in our lives, where somebody's going to tell you, you worked too hard, or you tried too hard. And you do, but the outcome is not necessarily always what you expected. In fact, it seems like sometimes you try so hard to do something that you believe is good, but it's clear that the heavenly decree has ruled differently. There is a spiritual eye that will allow us to see things differently. In fact, so differently it's impossible for the vast majority of society to see, because they don't even know it exists. Now, it'll need exercise, it'll need practice, but if you learn how to use it, it'll change your life and it'll improve it in ways you can't imagine. This week's parasha, we see that the brothers are doing what they think is the truth, what they think is good. Where they have a brother named Yosef, who the Torah itself testifies is their father's favorite. Anytime you have siblings, especially when you're growing up, the kids, fight about who is the parent's favorite. Sometimes they make fun of it, sometimes they take it personally, depending on their age and their maturity. To your surprise, many times older kids take it more personally when they think someone else is the favorite and not them. But here the Torah itself testifies that Yosef is the favorite. And the chronicles of Yaakov Avinu begin in this parasha and end at the end of the Torah. Where even though the first verse seems like it's going to tell us the entire chronicles of Yaakov, just like it did Adam HaRishon, Lehavdil, just like it did with Cain, just like it did with Lehavdil again, with Noach, with Avraham, Yitzchak, and even Esav. But the chronicles of Yaakov begin here and continue for the rest of the Torah. In fact, the chronicles of Yaakov continue until this day. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed it critical that everyone must know that Yosef was Yaakov's favorite son. So it's not like we're finding this out and the Shvatim didn't know. They knew. They knew that Yosef was the favorite. And Yosef did not exactly hide it either. He would tell them that He has this kutonet, this special garment that his father gave him, which Chazal tell us was all the way from the time of Adam HaRishon. And he has these very spiritually elevated dreams that are full of prophecy. And his brothers can't stand him. They hate the fact that he's the favorite. They hate the fact that he dreams these dreams. And it causes them to eventually sell him, which was actually better than the original decree they had, which was to kill him. Now, as much as they tried, we first have to understand why. Why they try, why they fail. What does it have to do with you in the secular year of 2024? When you try also, and don't necessarily always succeed. The Chachamim tell us, in Daas Skenim, that Yosef didn't just tell his brothers about the dreams. He was one of these little annoying kids that just keeps telling you the same thing 50 times. He kept telling them about the dreams, the same ones over and over again. Well, did you guys hear my dream? Well, what the dream? Well, I ended up being standing and you guys all bowed to me. Oh, okay, fine. All right, kid. Yeah, go. We got to go to work. Okay. Hey, guys, what's going on? Great. Did you hear about my dream? What dream? No, I stand and you guys all bowed to me. You told us the dream already. Yeah, but, you remember? Yeah, okay. Hey, what's going on? What are you guys doing? We're working. Did you hear about my dream? Hey, listen, I was standing and you guys were bowing to me. Again with the dream. Yalla, Yosef, go. Go already. Go. They had it with it. They had it with this dream. And the Radak says that it appears that Yosef had multiple dreams and he kept telling them to his brothers. But he told them in such a way that they understood it to be pride. That he's standing over them with pride. That he's going to be a leader over them. And therefore, since they saw that he is showing pride, they said this cannot be from God. Because God hates pride. God hates arrogant people. In fact, Chazal tell us that Hashem says, I cannot stand in the same room as someone that's arrogant. It's one of the most disgusting things in humanity. In fact, it's the source of all sins. Whether it's the sins that you're aware of, that pride leads to, or the ones that you're unaware of, like things like wasting seed, or adultery, or stealing from people. These are all sourced from pride of people literally believing the world owes them something, or everything belongs to them. It's a disgusting habit. It's a disgusting midah, character trait, but unfortunately, unless you uproot it from your heart, it'll stay there and continue to grow like cancer. So when the brothers saw that Yosef was, from their perspective, showing pride, they said it cannot be from God. And in fact, since it cannot be from God, what he's saying that sounds prophetic, that sounds like he's telling us the future, makes him a liar. And that's another thing that God hates. God hates liars. As the Sharei Tshuva writes 700 years ago, there are 3 types of people that will never see the Pnei Shechina, the face of the Shechina. And one of them is Kat Shakranim, the group, the people, the cult of liars. Hashem hates liars because his signature is emet, truth. So now they have 2 cases against him. Not only is he prideful in their eyes, but he's also a liar. And of course, the Torah itself starts off the parasha by telling us that he was also a tattletale. He always looked at his brothers and saw anything that looked off. He would go and tell Yaakov about it. Abba, I saw my brothers eat non-kosher food. Oh, non-kosher food? Yeah, listen, there was a cow, and the cow, they had a baby, and they just ate it. They didn't even shecht it. He didn't realize that the halacha is that if they shecht the cow while it's pregnant, you don't have to shecht the one that's inside her body. But to him, he had to tell this to his father. And then he saw his brothers talking to different people. Abba, I saw my brothers talk to girls. Oh, he didn't realize that he was watching his brothers do business. And sometimes your customers are females. And Yosef was a tattletale. Again, these are simplifications of the greatness of Yosef, simplifications of the greatness of all of the 12 tribes. But nonetheless, this is what actually the sages tell us. And the Chachamim explained to us that after the Shvatim, the brothers of Yosef concluded that Yosef was a liar, that Yosef was prideful. They decreed that there's no way that what he's saying is from God, and therefore they have the right to kill him, or at the very least, sell him. Get rid of him. Get him away from them, because his behavior could lead to their death, because they were afraid that if he continues to be a tattletale against them to their father, one day Yaakov will be angry at them and will kill them, because they knew how powerful Yaakov was. A single word that Yaakov said ended up leading to a death of his wife. He didn't mean to do it, but when Lavan came and told him, listen, you stole my gods, Yaakov told him, look wherever you want. If you find whoever has your idols shall die. He didn't know that Rachel, his wife, the daughter of Lavan, stole them. He didn't know she had them on her. Why would Yaakov say such a thing, that someone who stole these idols will get a death penalty? Because according to the Noahide law, stealing is forbidden, and the punishment is death, a heavenly death penalty. So Yaakov was simply implementing the law. So on one hand, we see that the brothers hated Yosef more and more as he continued to tell them the dreams. But the Torah tells us that they hated him for his dreams and for his words. What is this? His dreams and his words. You either hate the guy or you don't hate the guy. What do you care about the dream so much that it holds its own separate category from his words? If you don't like him being prideful over you, if you don't like him being a liar, if you don't like him being a tattletale, okay, so just hate the guy. Why is it that the Torah separates it and tells us that they hated his dreams and his words? Now, before we get to that, we need to know, why did Yosef even do it? Why did Yosef keep telling his brothers the dreams? The Gemara tells us that in Masechet Brachot, in page 55, that anytime a person has a real dream, and there are certain ways to determine whether something is a real dream or not, they should tell that dream to somebody that loves them, because that somebody will then interpret the dream for them in a positive way, since they love them, and the interpretation influences the outcome of this dream. Meaning, whatever that person says your dream means is what it's actually going to mean. In essence, HaKadosh Baruch Hu instilled a power in the mouth of man to influence reality. And therefore, Yosef, who knew this, of course, came to his brothers who he believed loved him and wanted to tell them his dream. He wanted to know how his brothers will interpret it, if they're going to interpret it in a positive way. So that's why when they wouldn't interpret it, they would just keep going back. If he had another dream, it would come back. All he wanted to do is simply get a good interpretation of the dream. Because he knew that the interpretation is going to influence the outcome of this dream. Now his brothers saw that the dreams that Yosef was having were not ordinary dreams. They were prophetic dreams. And it was clear that something significant was going to happen to Yosef. He was meant to be a leader. And since he was one of the youngest, second youngest in the entire family, this didn't seem like it made sense. This didn't seem like it was a favorable thing for the rest of the brothers, and therefore they feared him being a leader. But what they ended up doing is they ended up interpreting the dream themselves and influencing the outcome. The Bet Levi, who we did a series about his teachings about Bitachon some years ago, which until this day is one of the favorite series that people have. Short and extraordinary series. Many times I have students that tell me they've watched it multiple times and continue to watch it and continue to learn new things each time. The Bet Levi says, look at how the divine hand works. Hashem decreed for Am Yisrael to go to Egypt. It was necessary for Am Yisrael to go to Egypt to become slaves in order to rid themselves of certain character flaws, in order to humble them, in order to make them a better vessel for the Torah he wants to give them. And therefore he needed Yaakov to get there first. But since Yaakov was a tzaddik, to go and make Yaakov a slave was not something that Hashem desired to do. So therefore he had Yosef go there first. Struggle, suffer, but ultimately become the viceroy of Egypt, second only to Paro, which will then open up the door for Yaakov and his 70 souls, his family members, to come down to Egypt, at first prosper, at first multiply, but then eventually the heavenly decree of slavery would come. So while Yaakov could have been brought down to Egypt with handcuffs and chains, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I want to bring him there, my dear Yaakov, in a different way, on special carriages and royalty. But since this was the heavenly decree, this was in essence the target, says the Bet Levi, look what Hashem did in order to make that happen. The Shvatim feared their brother Yosef being the leader. They feared. He was a special one. He was the favorite one. He was extraordinarily beautiful. But he was still young. It didn't seem like this was a good thing. And when he would come with these dreams, it became more obvious that there's something going on here. And the Shvatim, out of their frustration with their brother Yosef, interpreted the dream and said to Yosef, what? You're going to be a king over us? And they hated him over his dream and his words, it says. Why did they hate him over his dream and his words? Because once they realized that after they made the statement, you're going to be a king over us, they just interpreted the dream. They just influenced the dream. And therefore, they hated him because of the dream and also because of his words, because he told them the dream and caused them to interpret it in an unfavorable way that they feared all this time. This is the reason why the Shvatim did not respond the second time that Yosef brought them a dream again. He brings them a dream, and you can look at the verses. It says he says the dream, but the brothers don't respond. And then he says the dream to his father Yaakov and to his brothers again. The same dream. And this time, the brothers don't respond. Yaakov does. Why don't the brothers respond? They learned their lesson already. Not to do it the first time. They were already upset the first time they interpreted it. And instead, Yaakov Avinu was left to respond. And then the Torah says, and Yaakov Avinu said, you're going to be a king over us? Yaakov Avinu interpreted the dream as well, the same way as the brothers. And then it says, and the brothers, the Shvatim, became jealous of Yosef. Until now, they hated him. They hated him because they thought it was pride. They hated him because they thought it was a lie. They hated him because of all of the reasons we already discussed. But now after they interpreted the dream in the same way that their father interpreted the dream, they knew this is a decree from heaven. And now they became jealous. How could this be that this kid's going to be a ruler? It cannot be the will of God. He's prideful. He's a liar. The Chachamim tell us the heavenly decree mocks the wasted Hishtadlut. Many times, a person exerts their effort and resources to do something that they believe is good, that they believe is the right direction. But Hashem has something else in mind. Hashem wants the person to go in a different direction. Now, while the person does not realize it, so he is going full force ahead, he doesn't realize that Hashem's plan is for you to turn left at some point. So when that day happens and you start going left, you think there's a mistake. You think you're being taken advantage of. You think that it's unfortunate what's happening to you. You think you're a victim. Why is this happening to me? I worked so hard. I haven't slept in 3 days. I did everything I possibly could. Why didn't I get the promotion? Why did I instead get fired? Why didn't I get the house? Why didn't I get this? And people think that all hope is lost, not realizing that Hashem has a different, better destination ahead for the person, something that's in their favor. But at first it looks like a failure. At first it looks like a tragedy. The same concept here. The Shvatim did not realize the divine plan, did not realize the involvement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in their day-to-day affairs with what's happening with Yosef in the way that Hashem had it. They did not know the decree that Am Yisrael will have to go to Egypt, starting with them. Everything was going fine, accept this younger brother nuisance that was happening to them. So when they interpreted the dream in such a way, they couldn't add up that, oh, this is how Hashem is going to bring us to Egypt. That was not within their ability at the time. But the Bet Levi tells us, Hashem had a plan for Am Yisrael to go to Egypt. And he allowed the Shvatim, in their own free will, to do whatever it is that they like, yet still arrive at the destination that Hashem decreed. Meaning, Hashem doesn't pick your actions. You can do whatever you want. But he does choose the destination. So sometimes a person will exert an enormous amount of effort on something. But the divine decree laughs at it. Not in a mocking way, but in a way where you're trying to go right, thinking that that's the best way. When I already know that left is what's best for you. Now, left to you looks like a tragedy. Left to you looks like a failure. Left to you looks like all hope is lost. But left is where you're going to see happiness. So no matter what the Shvatim tried to do, in essence, they became a tool that Hashem used in order to implement His divine plan. Years ago, times were difficult. I had a landlord that said he was religious. Didn't act so religious, though. And we were living in a house. We just had our third child, Baruch Hashem. And even though we had everything we needed, literally we were living miracle to miracle every month. And one day, during some of the worst times in recent history, this landlord decided that he wants us to leave the house so he can sell it instead of repair it, even though we had a contract, even though we had an agreement. And fight as you may, there's not much you can do. You have to leave. It's either you're going to leave and use whatever resources you have to move on with your life, or you delay and use your resources to pay lawyers and end up leaving anyway. There was one problem. We didn't have enough money to move. We couldn't find a house that was within the price range that we could afford, which was virtually nothing. And the only thing that was available was a house that was even more expensive than what we had, in a location we knew nothing about, and we had no chance in the world of being able to afford it. Now this landlord is sending us all types of threats, legal papers, messages, annoying situation. And even though we know we're in the right, even though we've always paid on time, we've never delayed, we've never had any issues, he's violating the law, he's violating the halakha, but the reality is we need to find someplace else to live. Sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. It looked like all the effort we've exerted to be honest, to be just, to be ethical, were to no avail. Because not only was this happening, but even if we wanted to move, how are we going to afford it? all of a sudden, when we're literally looking at a time frame, according to the threats of the lawyers, of, I think it was a week or 2 weeks, pray to Hashem. We ask Hashem for help, because that's the only source of help that you could ever get. No one can help you, and no one can hurt you if it's not the will of Hashem. But we're in a bind here. We're in a situation where we can't go right, we can't go left. Even if we want to move, how can we move? All of a sudden, somebody sends me a message. Hey, Rabbi, you don't know who I am, but I love your lectures. It's changing my life. Baruch Hashem, I've gotten many of those messages over the years. Countless. And I thank Hashem for them every day. But this one was different. Why? Because even though we live, the organization gets donations, and we use that to help people do tshuva, we use that to help poor people, we use that to run the organization. When it came to my personal finances, there was a different miracle. What? Some people would randomly decide to donate to me personally, but I would never ask, I would never talk about it. I would never say, listen, you could donate to the company, organization on the website, you could donate to me on Zelle. Simply never, those words never left my mouth. I just simply relied on Hashem 100%, and Baruch Hashem, it worked for years. But in this particular case, we're in a situation where we have to move. We don't have enough money to move to this expensive house, or more expensive than what it was, what we were doing. Nothing else was available. We have a limited amount of time frame, and then all of a sudden I get a message, somebody, listen, Rabbi, you changed my life. Okay, thank you, Baruch Hashem, Chazaku Baruch. Listen, I want to donate. I said, okay, here's the website. Go, donate, Chazaku Baruch. Usually people say, I want to talk to you about donations. Everyone knows I don't talk about donations on the phone. You want to donate, you go to the website. The most we could discuss is simply a text message. You could ask me where to go, and I'll tell you where to go. Why? Because I want to exercise my Bitachon. In this case, it wasn't any different. It's just that this person insisted that, no, I don't want to donate to the organization. I'll donate that too, but I want to donate to you. So, okay, fine. You could donate to me. No problem. It's always nice, always needed. And then before I know it, this guy gets the information from me, and he literally donates me just enough money to be able to move to this other house, which was literally an open miracle in front of our eyes. I don't know who this person is, never heard of him before, never talked to him before, but he decided, he got the urge at that moment, at that second, to go do something much more substantial than people that have listened to me sometimes for 5-10 years. Why? Because the plan and the effort was in one direction, but the divine hand decreed otherwise. And these types of miracles, Baruch Hashem, have happened to us countless times. Here we see, in the story of Yosef and his brothers, the divine hand was, in essence, laughing at all of the Hishtadlut, all of the efforts of the Shvatim to get rid of their brother. Because the plan was to bring Am Yisrael to Egypt. But the brothers could not see it. When a person has difficulty, and they want to be able to see through that difficulty, there's only one direction that a person needs to look, and that's to look to Hashem. No one can help you and no one can hurt you if Hashem doesn't decree it. Anytime you rely on a person, instead of bringing yourself a blessing, you bring yourself a curse, the Torah says. And that's why many times when people invest all of their efforts to have some type of politician, some type of judge help them, the prophet Micha says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already told us that when you rely on a person, that brings a curse on you. And therefore, when you relied on this judge, on the day that you expect your salvation is actually the day that you'll get punished. Shem Yerachem. That's the Pirush from the Abarbanel on Micha. So, when a person relies on a customer, on a boss, on a vendor, instead of relying on Hashem, not only are they bringing on themselves a problem and removing any possible blessing coming their way, but they're also not using their spiritual eye. What is this spiritual eye? The spiritual eye of Bitachon. To understand that whatever you see is a very limited picture. You just see the wall that's in front of you. You just see the problem that's in front of you. You just see the difficulty you've endured to get to this point and where you want to be. The spiritual eye has to look elsewhere, has to look above, has to look at Hashem, whatever I'm doing, you're the one that's giving me power to do it. Whatever success I've had, you're the one that gave it to me. Whatever success I will have, you're the one that's going to give it to me. So whether my success will come from this customer or that customer, this vendor or that vendor, this product or that product, this donor or that donor, doesn't make a difference to me. All I want to do is just follow what you say. But in the meantime, since I don't know which is the best direction, I'm going to exert whatever effort I have to go in a direction that I see fit, that's in accordance with the Torah, that's in accordance with common sense and logic. But if the destination is elsewhere, thank you, Hashem, for taking me through this journey so I could learn everything I can learn from it, including the lesson that my efforts do not mean a positive outcome. No matter how much efforts, no matter how much money, no matter how much IQ, efforts do not lead to an outcome that's positive. Because a Kadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of the outcome. You're in charge of the effort. He may want you to go in a certain direction, to learn certain things, to meet certain people, to make certain connections, to suffer certain pains, because you'll need them somewhere down the road. But what about the destination that I was hoping for? Oh, no, destination is something completely different. He's going to bring you somewhere else for the destination. The destination he has for you is much, much better than what you hoped for. Yeah, but why can't he just give it to me in the way I want? Because the way you want is wrong. Because you're not opening your spiritual eye. You're opening just your materialistic eye. And that's why in the story that we said earlier, the first version seems so dry, so empty, so purposeless, that it's like many people's experiences in their life when they fail or when they simply don't get to where they want to. It seems like, why did this happen to me? Why did I lose money? Why did I get hurt? Why did I this? Why did I that? People ask why. They don't realize how much value is in every aspect of your life. And the value is not always connected to the destination, because again, the destination is in the hands of Hashem. Everything is from heaven except the fear of heaven. Everything meaning the outcome of your work, the outcome of your life, as far as whether you'll get married or not, whether you'll have children or not, whether you'll be healthy or not, whether you'll how long you'll live, when chas v'shalom a person will die, whether you'll be rich or poor, whether you'll get a raise at the job or you'll get fired at the job, whether you'll win the lawsuit, lose the lawsuit. All of these things are in the hands of Hashem. The only thing that's in our hands is whether we live a life with fear of Hashem as our guide. Meaning, I'm only going to do step 1, 2, and 3 if it's in accordance with what the Torah allows me to do. If it's allowed, I'll go with it. If it's forbidden, I'm not going with it. Why aren't you going with it? The forbidden way seems like a more profitable way. The forbidden way seems like a more fun way. I'm not going with it because it's against the Torah, and I have Yirat Shamayim, I have fear of Hashem. So if a person first, before taking a step, decides that his life is going to be guided by the Torah, automatically his journey to the purpose of his life, to his destination, is going to be a lot more prosperous. Why? Because if Hashem is your guide, you can't go wrong. Even if it looks like you're wrong along the way, don't worry, the destination is for sure a big success. In every aspect, whether it's material, or it's spiritual, or whether it's getting married, having everything that you're going to do. If Hashem is your guide, for sure you're going to succeed. But if your ego is your guide, then you're failing in every step of the way. And that's why everything is from heaven except the fear of heaven. The outcome of everything that we do, that's in the hands of Hashem. But whether you fear Hashem or not, that's in your hands. Fear Hashem or not doesn't mean you just watch the Gehenom film every single day. That doesn't mean you fear Hashem. There's some people that just watch it for entertainment, but they're still Rishayim. Fear of Hashem means before I do everything, I look at what is Dat Torah. I ask my rabbi, what's Dat Torah here? Am I allowed to go? Not allowed to go. Allowed to buy? Not allowed to buy. Should I buy? Should I not buy? Should I get married? Should I not get married? Should I this? Should I that? They, in essence, always consult with Dat Torah, with the opinion of the Torah, where to go. So when we see the Shvatim decide to sell their brother, that's because the Shvatim concluded what Dat Torah is on their own, and that was their mistake. Instead of asking their grandfather Yitzchak, instead of asking their father Yaakov, these are Gdolei Ador, these are their rabbis, not just their parents and a grandparent. These are Gdolei Ador, these are the rabbis. Instead of going to them and making sure that they're going in the right direction, they decided on their own that selling Yosef was the best thing. And that was their mistake. Yeah, but he was prideful. In your eyes, he was prideful. In reality, he was just telling you because he wanted a positive interpretation. Yeah, but why did he tell me so many times? Because you didn't interpret it. Yeah, but he was lying. No, he wasn't lying. He was telling you what happened in the dream. You determined he was lying because you determined that the dream was not real, because you thought he was prideful. One thing led to the other. So we see, Rabotai, is that Dat Torah is not just something you're going to get from watching a shiur or even reading a book. Dat Torah requires someone that is knowledgeable both about you as well as the circumstance as well as the Torah. So when we look at the picture of the Shvatim, we see that had they had used their spiritual eye, they would have seen that, yes, things look awful, but there must be a reason for it. There must be a reason that he feels this way. There must be a reason that he's dreaming this. There must be a reason that Yaakov, our father, is favoring him and teaching him certain parts of the Torah he's not teaching us. There has to be something here. Until now, the Torah has had every parasha, good guy versus bad guy. Adam HaRishon, good guy. The snake, the serpent, bad guy. Abel, good guy. Cain, his brother, bad guy. Noach, good guy. The rest of the people in the world, bad people. Avraham Avinu, good guy. Nimrod and everyone else, bad people. Yitzchak, fighting Avimelech and his people. Ishmael, all the way until this day, all types of problems. The Satan himself, Yaakov Avinu, fighting Esav, fighting Lavan, good guy versus bad guy. But here we have Yosef, good, his brothers, good. But since they were using their logic and not that Torah, they weren't able to access that spiritual eye that's going to allow you to see things from a different perspective. When a person goes through their life only using their logic and their common sense, they're bound to add many, many more bumps to the road that are unnecessary, self-inflicted pain. As Shlomo HaMelech says, Ivelet Adam tesalef darko ve'al Adonai yiz'af libo. The stupidity of man will cause him to sin against God, and then he gets angry at God for punishing him. So now, Rabotai, what we learned is that we have to look at things differently. And sometimes we have the merit to see how the plan works, not only during our lifetime, but for whatever Hashem's reasons are, He allows us to see them right away. Difficulty, horrible landlord, kicking you out even though it's against the contract. Hashem sends you someone to bring you everything you need in order to bring you something more than what you even want, for the reasons that Hashem has. Like Yosef was sold, but unlike most of the merchants that travel the desert that were usually carrying smelly products like oil and all types of zephyr, tar, Hashem made it so that those that bought Yosef were carrying all types of beautiful smelling incenses, all types of perfumes. So even his journey to Egypt was pleasing. Even though he was going to prison, he became the leader there. In the story of the store, the first way that we can see without the spiritual eye is the way most people look at their life. There's a store, it's a small store. There's one woman that owns the place. She sells the jewelry to make a living. Rent is expensive. Electric is expensive. Everything is expensive, but she does whatever she can to make a living. In so many words, she can't afford to lose customers. So when she has a customer that's coming to look for earrings for her daughter, okay, maybe she can make a couple of dollars from it. She has another woman looking for some bracelet, okay, she can make a couple of dollars from it. But then when there's a smelly woman, a homeless woman in there, it looks like, why is she even in the story? She should be kicked out. That's the blind eye telling you. That's the first way of seeing the story. The other way of seeing the story, and what actually transpired, is this. The woman that was looking to buy her daughter some type of present, some type of gift, went to a local jewelry store. Store is small, and usually it's busy. But today she saw, already from afar, the store is empty. You know, since it's so small, you can always see if there's people there. In this case, completely empty except one woman that looks homeless, sitting down on some chair or couch. She doesn't look she has any money to buy any jewelry, needless to say, be a customer. But as this woman comes closer and closer to the store, she notices there's a certain foul smell that's getting stronger and stronger. As she walks into the store, this horrible smell grows so strong that she now realizes why the store is empty. Customers don't go shopping in smelly places. But to her surprise, this homeless woman that smells so bad you could literally smell her from outside is in a good mood. And the owner, instead of being upset that there's somebody smelly that's scaring away all the customers, the owner is also happy. And they're actually happy talking to each other. And the owner is giving her something to drink, making sure she's comfortable, giving her a place to sit, making her feel at home. Yeah, but what about the customers? To pay the electric, to pay the rent, to pay the difficulties. All of that can wait. But people are not going to come to the store. Apparently, it doesn't matter. And as this woman is looking for a little present and enjoying the smell and aroma unique to today's environment in this store, suddenly a well-to-do woman comes into the place as if she does not smell anything. She comes in, she looks, and she asks the owner of the place, "Do you have gold bracelets? Or do you want fake gold, real gold? What kind of gold?" No, real gold. Sure. She shows her, and literally within 5 minutes, which is a miracle of its own. For a woman to pick anything within 5 minutes already makes the story sound fake, but it's real. Within literally 5 minutes, this woman buys, I believe, the most expensive product in the store. She buys it, she pays for it, and she leaves. And now the spiritual eye sees what the Rambam wrote 800 years ago. We see that our Torah tells us that you'll eat the fruit, and yet your original investment will stay untouched. What does that mean, says the Rambam? This is referring to mitzvot, where there are two groups of mitzvot in the Torah. There are positive commandments and negative commandments. Things to do, things forbidden. And then there's also mitzvot that are between you and God, and mitzvot between you and another human being, between man and man. The mitzvot between you and God, says the Rambam, if you fulfill them, Hashem will reward you in Olam Haba. You have yourself a savings account in heaven waiting for you for all the things that you did, such as keeping Shabbat, putting on tzitzit, putting on tefillin, eating kosher food. All of these mitzvot between you and God, you'll get rewarded in Olam Haba. But then there's the mitzvot between you and man, such as giving tzedakah, not stealing, not cheating, not hating people, not lying, not saying Lashon Hara. These are all mitzvot between one man and another. Those mitzvot, says the Rambam, when you fulfill those mitzvot, Hashem will reward you in Olam Haba, but you will also get a benefit in this world as a result of your elevated behavior. And here we see that while everyone would look at the story and say, why would this businesswoman that needs every customer she can possibly find to keep the store open, why would she risk losing so many customers by entertaining this homeless woman, this smelly woman? Even if you want to help her, just give her a few dollars, tell her to leave. But instead, sit down, here's a drink, laughs with her, talks with her. She's having a good time. While everyone thinks she's crazy for doing such a thing. She doesn't know what she's doing according to what the blind eyes are saying. But what a Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying is, when you elevated your behavior to have kindness on someone that's struggling, to have kindness on someone that's having a difficult journey, don't ever think that you will ever lose as a result. And in fact, you gained much more. Where literally in front of everyone's eyes, an unheard of customer, an unheard of experience happens where a woman comes in and buys the most expensive product in the store without ever noticing the smell, without even spending much time in the store. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that controls the results. You exerted yourself with your efforts by elevating your behavior to care for your brother, to care for your sister, more than you care for your pocket, because you know that your pocket, Hashem is in control of it. Your bank account, Hashem is in control of it. It may say Chase, it may say TD Bank, it may say, Lloyd's of Bank, it may say whatever bank on it, but in reality, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's bank. He's the one that decides whether you have a positive balance or a negative balance. When you believe that, all of a sudden you're starting to use your spiritual eye. This, Rabotai Kareem, is one of the most extraordinary lessons that a person could add to their life and see miracles. Because the more you believe in Hashem, the more you realize there is no such thing as anything going wrong. No such thing as anything going wrong. Everything is part of the plan. You just didn't know about it. BeEzrat HaShem, the miracles that you heard here are going to be standard in your life because Hashem sees that you have merited to see them. And to make sure that you guys have even enough stories to take home and even share with your friends on Shabbat, I'll give you another one. Some time ago, I got a bill. But this is not the kind of bill that I get every single day from, whether it's electric bill, rent bill, some type of vendor bill. There's endless bills, lots and lots of bills to run the organization, to run our life, and Baruch Hashem, Hashem provides. But this bill wasn't a nice bill. This bill was from the IRS, which is Gimatria Amalek. Now, I didn't have any problems with the IRS, but apparently they didn't agree. They sent me a bill for $400,000. Now, if I was still working on Wall Street, this wouldn't necessarily be such a problem. But I'm not, and I haven't for many years. And I have no idea why they think I owe them $400,000. So after calls and trying to figure out what happened here, at all times I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a beautiful present for me, even though it kind of smells, even though it's kind of ugly at first. Long story short, we find out that apparently the one loan that I had for many, many years ago was was actually titled as something that was given to me as income according to the IRS, and now I owe this money. Without wasting too much time giving the details, in so many words, the IRS determined that I owe all this money. Now, of course, I called the bank. I tried to tell them, listen, this is a mistake. This is, obviously you didn't give me this money. This is money I borrowed. This was for a house. This was for this. This was for that. But it seemed like it was to no avail. I'm chasing my tail, trying to figure out what's going on. But at all times, I know that Hashem runs the world. I know that we're in the right path. I know that we're helping people. I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is holding me like a little baby. I just don't know where he's taking me. Long story short, eventually I get in touch with a accountant that I know. I tell him, listen, I have this issue. All of a sudden I have this huge bill. I have no idea how this even happened. Okay, no problem. I'll take care of it for you. He tries to look at it. Oh, yeah, they made a mistake here, they made a mistake there, this, that, the other thing, no problem, we'll take care of it. Fine, fantastic. I'm already pleased that he's going to take care of it and I won't owe this money. But through the process of him looking at things and finding things and all of these different things, he tells me, hey, listen, Rabbi, is a mistake here. I said, yeah, that's what we have this bill. No, it's a different one. So what? See, on this year, on this filing, something was missed. So what? There's more problem? He goes, no. Now, instead of you owing money, the government's going to send you a small little refund. I said, what? They're going to give me money? I said, yeah. Why? Because you didn't do this and didn't do that, and there was certain things that are available because of this and because of that, all these different rules. And instead of owing $400,000, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to send me a present for $17,000. And it was exactly the amount of money that we needed for certain things that happened at the time. Now, Rabotai Karim, how difficult is this for Hashem? Whether it's 17,000 or 17 million. How difficult is it for me? It depends on how much emunah I have. How difficult is it for you? It depends how much emunah you have. If you have your spiritual eye open at all times, and you know that everything is from Hashem, the outcome is always in the hands of Hashem. The only thing you can do is effort. That's the only thing you can do. If you can do that, then everything is easy. Yeah, but you just got a tax bill for $400,000. Easy. Yeah, but you just sick. Easy. Yeah, but just late. Easy. Yeah, just this XYZ. Easy. Everything is easy. Why is it easy? How could it be possibly easy? Because Hashem runs the world. What do you mean? I'm going to tell him how to do his job. He runs the world. He's the king. I'm just trying to fit into this extraordinary world he has. Everything is easy for him. And if you want it to be easy for you, open up your spiritual eye. Look up at the heavens and say, Ishtabach Shimcha La'ad. Thank you, Hashem, for everything. Even if sometimes it smells at first. Even if sometimes it hurts at first. Eventually, you'll see that it was for your own good. And in fact, was the best possible option out of all the options available. That's what Rabbi Akiva says at the end of the Gemara Masechet Brachot. Everything that the merciful one does is always the best. Not just sometimes the best, always the best. The more we have our spiritual eye open, looking at the heavens and realizing everything is from him, the easier the journey becomes and the less suffering we have. Because the primary suffering people have is in here. It's in their mind. It's in their heart. If they point those two to Hashem, all of a sudden everything is easy. And BeEzrat HaShem, it'll become easy for all of us.
השם שיזכה לבוא ולהשתתף בקמפיין הגדול והקדוש הזה, לבוא ולעזור למשפחות נזקקות, לאברכים, לחמם את הלבבות. אתם יודעים מה זה אישה אלמנה עם יתומים, שלא רק שאין לה מה לאכול, מגיע החורף הקר, אין לה במה לחמם את הילדים שלה הקטנים. בעזרת השם, אנחנו קיבלנו על עצמנו ברשות הרב ירון, לנסות לחמם את הלבבות, לנסות להאיר את החשיכה באותם לבבות כאובים. הכסף הולך ישר לארגון, זה לא עובר לכספים של אף אחד אחר. בעזרת השם, יתרום תנורי חורף, יתרום ביגוד אם צריך, סלי מזון אם צריך, ויהיה רצון מי שיזכה להיות שותף בדבר הזה.
With that being said, Rabotai Yekarim, you guys can start asking some questions, and BeEzrat HaShem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Do I have a problem with Christians? If the Christians are practicing their religion in their churches, in their places, in their life, and they're not trying to missionize Jews to become Christians, I don't have any problems with Christians. If they want to worship, they want to worship the way they want to worship. I don't have any problem with what they do. The only problem I have is when they either try to kill us physically or spiritually. Physically, I don't have to explain. You could just simply look at the history between the Christians and the Jews over the last couple of thousand years. It hasn't been pretty. And spiritually, it also hasn't been pretty. In fact, has led to many of the murders because they tried to convert us, and if we didn't convert, they killed us. So today, Baruch Hashem, the Christians are generally not trying to kill us physically, but they're still trying to kill us spiritually, and they're having some success at it. Some reports in recent years have said that nearly 500,000 Jews have converted to Christianity in the last 25 years. 500,000 Jews is an enormous number for Jewish people. We're not Chinese that we have almost 2 billion people, or Indian that have nearly 2 billion people. There's, give or take, between 15 to 20 million Jews that we know of in the world. 500,000, an extraordinary number. You're talking about 2.5% to 4% of the total population. So when Christians missionized Jews and tried to convert them to Christianity, typically, it's with disguise. Typically, they pretend to be Jewish. Typically, they pretend that Christianity is really another version of Judaism. They call themselves Messianic Jews. Typically, it's with lies. So that I have a big problem with. And that's why we address it in our lectures. Not only because it hurts our people when they Christians missionize, but also because it hurts the Christians when they continue believing these things that they believe, because according to our Torah, their belief system is 100% idolatry. If you just simply read what the Torah says and not what your pastor or priest tell you to read, you'll see that there is more unanswered questions in Christianity than there are answers. In fact, in Christianity, you're not allowed to ask questions. You're supposed to have blind faith. In Judaism, if you don't ask questions, the sages say, Lo baishan lamed. If you're too shy to ask questions, you're never going to learn Torah. You're never going to know the truth. In so many words, in Judaism, it's the exact opposite. You have to ask questions. If you want to know the truth, you have to ask questions. So, again, if the Christians or Muslims or Buddhists or whatever they are practice their religion in their way, in their place, they can do whatever they want. It's not my business to tell them what to do. If they come to me, they ask for advice, I'll tell them the truth. I'll never hold it back from them. I'll tell them what the truth is about their religion is that I know. And I know a lot about it because I've investigated it. I've spent years studying all of these things. But either way, again, I'm never going to go to some Christian event or some lecture or even some video and start commenting on it that they should stop being Christians. It's never going to happen. You're never going to find a Jew do that. But you do find many Christians come to lectures of mine and other rabbis and Jewish events and synagogues and try to missionize. So the attack, the spiritual attack, is happening on a regular basis. And that I have a big problem with. That all Jews should have a problem with. Because that's not allowing us to live peaceful lives among each other. It's in essence forcing us to be in conflict with each other because they're infiltrating our communities, trying to force us to become Christians. So that's a problem. And that will always be a problem until Mashiach comes and resolves all those problems by eliminating anyone that doesn't believe in God and in His holy Torah. And unfortunately, for those that stay loyal to Christianity, it's not going to be a good day for them. But those that abandon it, those that follow what the Torah says, it'll be their ultimate salvation. What is a tithe? A tithe is referring to maaser. Maaser is giving 10% of your income to publicize Torah, to support Torah. That's a maaser. That's what it is referring to as tithe. This all began at the time of the Bet HaMikdash, but is still followed by many religious Jews until this day to give 10% of their income to some type of Torah cause. What is the proper attire for davening? The proper attire is to look presentable, to look modest, and that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as if you believe that you're going to see the King of Kings, and you truly believe that, then you would dress the part. And of course, not everybody can dress with their Shabbat clothes every day, so you're not obligated to wear fancy clothes to go pray every day. But you are supposed to wear modest clothes. You are supposed to look presentable. So if you smell terrible, or you have some type of filth in your shoes, or then obviously you need to clean yourself up before you pray. If you're in an environment that smells, or there's all types of immodesty there, then you need to pray at a different place. So, but in general, as far as the clothing itself, just as long as you're modest, as long as you're presentable, there's no problem of you praying. How many prayers do we do every day? The obligation on a man, a Jewish man, is to pray 3 times a day, Shachrit, Mincha, and Arvit. Shachrit was instituted by Avram Avinu. Mincha was instituted by Yitzchak Avinu, and Mariv, or Arvit, was instituted by Yaakov Avinu. In addition to that, there's also a short prayer that a person does before they go to sleep. It's called Shema Lamita. In addition to that, there is blessings throughout the entire day. The David HaMelech says that a Jew has to do at least 100 blessings per day. So whether that's before you eat or after you relieve yourself in the bathroom or even part of your prayer is considered all blessings. You're supposed to get to 100 blessings a day, and many people that have Yirat Shamayim are very careful to actually count them. Count how many blessings each day they do in order to reach that 100 mark. But as far as prayers are concerned, there's the prayer of the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, and then there's the prayer before you go to sleep, and then there's, of course, personal prayers. Personal prayers, there's no limitation. There's no limitation. A person can pray to Hashem from their heart, whether they're a Jew or a Gentile, an unlimited amount of times, whenever they want, however they want. So that's a personal prayer. But as far as obligatory prayer, you have the 3 prayers that I mentioned. How are you confident that your religion is the right one? I'm not confident. I am certain that Judaism is the truth. Number one, because it's not possible for Judaism to be false and Christianity or Islam to be true. That's not a possibility because Christianity and Islam both rely on the Torah. So while logic would tell you that it's possible for Judaism and Islam to be true, or Judaism and Christianity to be true, that same logic will tell you that it's not possible for any one of those two, Christianity or Islam, to be true while Judaism is false, because again, Judaism not only preceded them, but both of those other religions, those 2 other major religions, are stemmed from, in essence, are stating that they are a continuation of Judaism, and something changed. God changed, the rules changed. So it can never be that the Torah is false and the New Testament is truth, or the Torah is false and the Quran is true. That's not possible by simple logic. Furthermore, it is absolutely possible, according to logic, scientific logic. We're not even dealing with faith yet. That Judaism is true, and both of the others are fake, because again, like I said, Judaism is what started it all. So it's not possible that the others will be true and Judaism fake, but it is possible. There's 2 possibilities. There is, 3. There's the possibility of Judaism and Christianity being true. There's a possibility of Judaism and Islam being true. There's a possibility of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity to be true. And there's a possibility of Judaism to be the only truth, and everything else is the lie, which is really the truth. Judaism is the truth, everything else is a lie. Why do I say that's the only reality? Because that's what God says. God is not a man that changes his mind. That's what you'll see in the Torah, Parashat Balak, that the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that he's only one. That's why we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That's in the Torah, where God is not a man. He's also not one that separates into 3, like they say in Christianity. And an endless amount of verses in the Torah that prove itself biblically, prove itself scripturally. Furthermore, there is scientific proofs that the Torah is divine, because there's countless verses in the Torah that show that it's impossible for the Torah to have been given by or to have been written by man. The Torah is from God, and this is referring to both the written Torah and the oral Torah. Whether it's knowing the exact number of stars that are in the universe, which modern day science only started estimating a number close to reality in just the last 20 years. But we already had this information for the last several thousand years. Or it's literally knowing all of the possible species that ever exist well before science ever even caught up to the fact that there's well over 40,000 species just in the sea, just in the ocean. And countless other things that are in the Torah that can be proven just from the verses, just from science. This is just a microcosm of all the truth that's in the Torah. Now, the last point I would tell to you is that the reason why we know for sure that it's not possible for the other religions to be true in any way, shape, or form is because there are countless human errors in the New Testament and in the Quran, and there's also countless versions of them. The Torah only has one version, but the New Testament has over 200,000 versions. You'll open the King James Bible, and then you'll open some other Bible, and you'll see that there are certain verses that are not only different in spelling, but literally different in meaning. There are over 200,000 versions of the New Testament. In comparison to Islam and their Quran, there are over 9,000 versions of the Quran. 9,000 versions that have different verses and in many cases significantly different meanings. So even if one were to say that one New Testament is the truth or one Quran is true, which one is it out of the 200,000 versions, and who said it is? How could we rely on him? So it's clear that the New Testament and the Quran have human errors, not just because of the numbers that they have, but also because of what they say. In the New Testament, there are countless verses that contradict the Torah. If the New Testament is in essence a continuation of the Torah, which is they call the Old Testament, that means it has to agree with it, not contradict it. When Hashem says that Yaakov Avinu went down to Egypt with 70 souls, multiple times in the Torah it says 70. When the New Testament says 75, we see here there's a human error. And don't tell me, no, we counted different. There is no counting different. There is what the Torah says, and that's it. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that the cave of Machpelah is in Shechem, and the New Testament says it's in Nablus, in a different city, that's not just a human error, an archaeological error, but that's something you could see with your own eyes. You could see literally where the cave of Machpelah is now. It's still around. People go there literally every day. You could see that the New Testament has the wrong address. And there are countless errors in the New Testament that I've mentioned in other lectures. If you want to know those other things, you could just simply go to my YouTube page and just write the name either New Testament or Jesus, and you'll see the different lectures that I made about this topic, naming many, many mistakes. In the case of Islam, there's also similar errors there, where they say that they believe that Moshe Rabbeinu, his sister Miriam, which the Torah obviously clearly praises and speaks about and mentions her in many verses. The Quran says that Miriam, the sister, the holy sister of Moshe Rabbeinu, was also the mother of Yoshke, the mother of Jesus. Now this is not only stupid, this is something that's easy to prove otherwise. Why? Because there is over 1,000-year difference between the lifetime of Moshe Rabbeinu and Miriam, who died in the desert, and when Jesus actually lived. So how could she possibly be his mother? It also says that Paro of Egypt, of the time of the plagues, was friends with Haman. Haman that nearly led to the annihilation of the Jews in Persia. The story of Purim. How could they be friends when there's over 1,000-year difference between the two? So these foolish human errors are very simple to highlight, that the New Testament and the Quran are not only not divine, they're complete falsehood. So when you have a situation like that it's very simple to prove the falsehood of the others, and there is a countless ways to prove the validity and authenticity and the divinity of the Torah, it's very easy to be certain that the Torah is the only thing that's real and everything else is fake. And that's why this is the life we live. This is why we're willing to die for it. This is why we're living with it. And somebody that insists on being stubborn and say, no, but I believe in the New Testament, but I believe in the Quran, but I believe in Pikachu, I believe in G.I. Joes. By all means, believe in whatever you want. The only thing I would say to you, since you're already here and you're already watching it, because obviously God sent you here in order to give you a chance to find the truth, at the very least, don't be a naive fool that just assumes you are right. Go investigate. Investigate everything I just said. See if those mistakes are really there. Watch those lectures that I mentioned to you. Go and check. Go and check if what you believe in is certain, is 100%, and it's not simply blind faith. And one thing you're going to find is that there's no two Christians with the same belief. Every one of them has a different version of Christianity, even if they're in the same church, even if they have the same pastor or priest. Everybody has their own version of what Messiah means, what Jesus means, what New Testament. Well, everyone has a different version. Some people hate Paul, some people love him, some people this, some people that. It's obviously there is enough conflict within the church that in itself it should lead for you to double check whether you believe or not. And quite frankly, you should ask yourself, why are you watching a rabbi if you're so certain in your belief? When you're never going to find me or any other religious Jew attending a pastor or a priest or a sheikh's lecture. It's simply never going to happen. We're not interested. We're not interested in what the sheikh has to say. We're not interested in what the priest or the pastor has to say. But you're constantly going to find Muslims and Christians and Catholics and atheists watching my lectures and other rabbis' lectures. Why? If you're so certain in your belief, why waste your time listening to us? Do you know why? Because inside that soul of yours that's half asleep, there's a spark in there that's telling you, stop following the lies. Go listen to the Jews, because even your own Quran says the Jews, they have the truth. Your Quran says the Jews have the truth. The New Testament says the Jews have the truth. The New Testament says the Jews have the truth. The Quran says the Jews have the truth. So even your own book says that we have the truth. And that's why you're here. Because you're looking for the truth. Understand? Good. How could I join a religion that has hundreds of loopholes? Well, in order for you to say that there's hundreds of loopholes, you'd actually have to understand what a loophole is. And an halachic leniency, or what you would call a loophole, is only going to be something that you would understand if you understood how halacha works. So, for example, if you see somebody driving on Shabbat, the Jew driving on Shabbat, automatically you could assume that this person is violating Shabbat, and according to the Torah, deserves a death penalty. But the reality is that if this person is saving somebody's life, there's, let's say, someone that's sick or giving birth in the back seat, then not only are they not violating Shabbat, but this so-called loophole is what the Torah commands us to do, because you're supposed to use the Torah to live by it, not to die by it. The same concept if this person is not bringing anybody with him and is not even sick themselves, but is an actual doctor, and got a call on Shabbat that there is some type of emergency and they need to go to the hospital to go save somebody's life. So certainly, the law that tells us to observe Shabbat and not drive on Shabbat, that very same law has what you would call a loophole, but it's not really a loophole. That's simply how the law works, that tells you to put Shabbat on hold in order to save human life. So it's important for a person to become educated about their questions before questioning things, and not just simply assume that they know. What is the greatest mitzvah if you had to pick one? Well, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says we do not know the value of mitzvot as far as what reward we're going to get from them. But the ultimate purpose of why we are in this world is, as the Gemara in Masechet Chagigah says, and also it's in the Mishnah in Masechet Avot, it's just to sanctify Hashem's name. Kiddush Hashem. So much so that the Gemara says that if you did not sanctify Hashem's name today, what was the purpose of your entire life? In so many words, you're supposed to find a way to sanctify Hashem's name every single day. Every day you're supposed to fulfill a mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. So that's in essence why Hashem allows you to exist. As the Mishnah in Masechet Avot says, everything He created for His glory. So this is our obligation, is to sanctify His name. Now, of course, there is a countless other mitzvot out there, but if you are trying to pinpoint one, then that certainly is, encompasses everything else, because you cannot sanctify Hashem's name, you cannot fulfill the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem if you're desecrating His name on a regular basis by sinning. So you can't sanctify God's name while eating non-kosher food intentionally. You can't sanctify Hashem's name while stealing money from people. So you have to know that in order to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name, that means that you're also sanctifying His name on a regular basis by fulfilling His Torah, by doing what He says, what He commanded. Is the concept of Dira Betachtonim purely Kabbalistic, or is there Torah truth to it? Well, Kabbalah is true. So I'm not really sure why you're separating the two. The Torah, Kabbalah is part of the oral Torah. As far as Dira Betachtonim, yeah, there's no problem with believing it, but it's important for people to understand it. And I think that the overwhelming majority of people that speak about it publicly in videos, don't actually understand it themselves. They make it seem as if Hashem has some village over here in this world, and He's buying groceries every week, or that He needs to be here, or that He's, He occupies space, or all types of foolish things that people think. So, as far as the teachings of Dira Betachtonim, yeah, the Chachamim spoke about it, but whether the definition that you heard is the right definition or not, most likely if you heard it from videos out there or people that speak about it out there, most likely it's wrong. As far as what the video of a bunch of people from Chabad saying that God needs you, if you want to know more about that, you can watch my film called Oreganuz. It's on the channel, it's on the app. Baruch Hashem, it's reached many people. Oreganuz is a recent film that we released. Part of the film is discussing the heretics and the heresy of the generation, and it actually speaks about that particular form of heresy where they say that God needs you, which is completely stupid and heretical. But why is the animal kingdom so vicious? Why do you consider it vicious? How is it more vicious than humans? At least animals kill each other for survival, for food. So whereas humans kill people for pleasure, they kill animals for pleasure. So the animal kingdom is no more vicious than mankind. But as far as why animals behave the way they behave, because they're animals. They work off of instinct. If somebody's hungry, they go after food. And if what they see is something that could be potentially food, and they don't care about whether this mouse or cat or dog or zebra or elephant has a family and kids and plans for retirement. They care less. They see food, they go eat. But that's no different than mankind. Now, you may not care so much about where your chicken came from, but you should know the chicken you ate today had a family. She had a husband. She had probably plenty of kids. I mean, a chicken lays an egg every day, so she probably had many kids, and she had a husband, and she probably had a history. She grew up in a farm. Probably struggled getting up to where she was eventually. She maybe even had a dream of one day being a chicken that gives more eggs and lays more eggs, and you ate her. So what, are you going to feel bad about the chicken? No. Why? Because it's a chicken. It was created for the sake of people to eat. The same thing with the cow, the same thing with the chicken, the same thing with all animals. All animals are there for mankind's use, whether it's for consumption or it's for other reasons. For the Jewish people, we are only allowed to consume the kosher animals, whether it's kosher fish, kosher birds, kosher animals, and for the non-Jews, they could eat whatever they want as long as it's not alive while they're eating it. Meaning, don't start chewing on the pig or the horse's leg while it's still alive. In so many words, don't chop off his leg while he's still alive and start eating it while the horse is still alive or the pig is still alive. But if you want to eat horse as a non-Jew, enjoy. Bon appetit. Put some salt on it. Maybe it'll be tastier. I don't know. It's up to you. There's no problem with a non-Jew eating non-kosher food because they don't have an obligation of kashrut. But why did Hashem make mankind eat the animals? Because in essence, this is part of the Tikkun Olam. Initially, when Hashem created Adam HaRishon did not eat the animals. He named them, he knew what their essence was, and people were not eating animals. But after Adam HaRishon sinned and got out of Gan Eden, then started reproducing, and people continued to degenerate, continued to go against Hashem, and so much so that their behavior affected the animals. And the animals started going against their own nature. Where instead of a zebra marrying a zebra wanted to marry a lion. And the goat started becoming carnivorous and started eating meat and chasing after the lion. And while the lion was very satisfied with just grass and marrying a rat. So this type of behavior was against their nature, was as a result of the spiritual filth that was created by mankind, and therefore both man and animal required a tikkun, and that's why after the Hashem destroyed the world and allowed Noach and his family to repopulate it, he allowed Noach to eat certain types of animals. He allowed Noach to eat animals, not because Noach had no other way of eating, but rather because by eating the animal, you are giving the animal an opportunity to fix what was broken in the past. In some cases, it's the animals that you're eating today are different neshamot of people that used to live, made certain types of sins, that in order for them to rectify that sin, they have to reincarnate into an animal and be eaten, or be killed, or be used for a belt, or be used for a hat, or simply be used for something else. Why? Because it's part of their tikkun. So the whole purpose of animals is to serve men. Why we consume animals today versus why we didn't consume it when Adam HaRishon first started, was first created, is because of what I just explained, which is the degradation of the generations and which included also the degradation of animals, and also the requirement of people to be reincarnated in order to rectify mistakes that they were not able to rectify while they were alive in this world, or were not possible to rectify while in this world. So Hashem's system, Hashem's world, is endlessly bigger than what we can possibly even imagine. The problem with mankind is that we could really only see, a portion of what's in front of us, but we think we know everything, even what's beyond us. In reality, we only understand a small portion of what's in front of us. We are completely clueless of what's beyond the point that's in front of us, and we're even more clueless at what's even possible, because we have a limited vision. Hashem, on the other hand, has an unlimited vision. The past, the present, and the future are all the same to him. The microscopic or the telescopic, it's the same thing to him. There's no concept of distance, of space, of time, of any type of limitation. So the vision that you see is, let's just say, if you're looking through a narrow type of glasses where you're blocked on both sides, like a horse. Horses usually they put something on their eyes so they can keep their eyes straight and focus on a specific direction. So in essence, the best a person can do is look straight and really only identify part of what's in front of him. They can't really see the full picture because more or less, they're assuming they understand what's in front of them. They have no idea what's beyond a certain point. They have no idea what is on their right, what's on their left, what's behind them. They're limited. Hashem, on the other hand, has no limitation, can see in every single direction, including in place and time, meaning in things that to us have already happened in the past, or things that will happen in the future. So the limited scope that we have is the reason why it's impossible for us to understand completely the creation and why there are certain things that happen in the world, whether it's why Hashem allows a certain lion to kill a zebra, and why Hashem allows a certain bad man to take advantage of a nice man, and why Hashem allows the righteous to suffer and the wicked to prosper, or at least, again, that's the way it looks for us. All of these types of questions are only there because we have limitations as humans. And the more a person understands the endless nature of Hashem, the endless scope of Hashem, the endless knowledge of Hashem, the endless wisdom of Hashem, the endless righteousness of Hashem, the endless good of Hashem, then they're simply going to continue asking those questions because they don't have. But the more they understand it, the more they're going to understand that not only do I not know everything, I don't need to know everything. But if somebody wants to learn more about this particular topic, then you should get the book called Chovot Alevavot, Duties of the Heart. The first, I would say, 150 pages are solely dedicated to this particular subject. The rest of the book also, but it's usually a 2-volume book. And Duties of the Heart in English, or Chovot Levavot in Hebrew. This book was written over 1,000 years ago, and it's something that's going to not only address every question you possibly have, but it's something that's going to open up your mind to many, many more questions and answers that you would have never arrived to unless you read and studied the Chovot Levavot and the Torah. Meaning the type of information that he's giving you is not just answers to certain questions, but he's literally showing you different ways to think in a level of wisdom that's unlike anything else you can find. unlike anything else. Doesn't matter whether you're reading the literature of the Buddhists, Sun Tzu, or you're reading Aristotle, or you're reading Plato, or you're reading Nietzsche, or you're reading, I don't know, Mein Kampf. Doesn't make a difference. Whatever people think is wisdom is literally considered zero. Zero in comparison to Chovot HaLevavot, which, again, Chovot HaLevavot is just a small part, tiny part of our oral Torah. Our oral Torah is endless. And this, again, is available and easy to get, and Hashem has made it so easy to get and so cheap to get that it behooves us to study what our sages have said, because literally every bit of knowledge is going to change your life in more ways than you can imagine. Could all of my suffering be because of my past life? Well, I mean, it's assuming that you are completely righteous, you don't make any mistakes, you don't violate the Torah in any way, shape, or form, which is not possible, but assuming that you're perfectly righteous, then yeah, it would be because of your past life. But the reality is that while most people would like to blame their past life for all of their troubles, the truth is the vast majority of their problems are because of their current life. Because of their current mistakes, because of what they're doing now. And what they've done so far while they've been in this world. Do Noahides play a role in the end of times? Sure. The prophet Zechariah says that 2/3 of the world will be destroyed. These are the enemies of God. 1/3 will remain and then be tested, which of course, if you look at the 8 billion or so, almost 9 billion people in the world, or at least over 8 billion people in the world, and you divide that into 3, you're still going to arrive at over 2.5 billion, and closer to 2.7 billion people is the third. So even if those 2.7 billion people don't all survive, because they have to all be tested and in essence purified, and not all last third survive. So even if, let's say, half of them survive, okay, 1 billion people, a third, a billion out of the 2.7 billion survive. Like I said, there's only about 15 to 20 million Jews, and I could tell you, as the Torah itself says, not all Jews are going to survive. Many Jews that are enemies of the Torah, that hate the Torah, that are atheists, that have adopted idolatry and have not repented, have not done tshuva, have not returned to Hashem, they're also going to be part of the destruction. So that means that there's going to be a certain amount of Jews that are that are going to benefit from the salvation, going to benefit from Mashiach, but the vast majority of people that are going to survive, as far as number is concerned, not percentage, but as far as number is concerned, are going to be non-Jews. Just simple logic. So yes, certainly Noahides do play a big role at the end of times. If they're righteous Noahides, they will have a share in the world to come. Does Judaism believe in past lives as if you've lived in it already? Yes, of course. Reincarnation comes from Judaism. It doesn't come from anywhere else. Greetings from Miami Beach. You're not that far away. About an hour away or so. Is there any news about the third temple? Yes, it'll be built once the Mashiach comes. That's going to be one of his missions. One of his tasks, I should say. What is your recommendation of the best Jewish community to move into within the United States? I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all. It all depends on what you're looking for, what your ideology is like, what your customs are. If, let's say, for example, you're a Hasid of a certain Hasidut, then certainly you should go find that particular Hasidut's keilot in America. But if you're a Sephardi Jew or Ashkenazi Jew, for you to go move into a Hasidic community doesn't really make sense so much. Or vice versa. If you're a Hasid, it doesn't necessarily always make sense for you to go move into a community that does not have your Hasidut. Again, it all depends. Same concept with if somebody has the proper ideology of an Orthodox Jew. It doesn't make sense for them to move into a modern community that half the Keilah is driving on Shabbat, even to shul. So it all depends. It all depends on what you're looking for. It also depends on how you're able to, how many options you have available to you. Because even if something is a good community, it may not be available to you either because of your job or because of your financial situation. So it's not such a simple question. It's not really possible to answer such a question without knowing more details. Is there Mashiach living among us in every generation? Yes. But he doesn't know he's Mashiach until Hashem decides that the generation has the merit, and he tells them he's Mashiach, and then the show begins. Can I become Jewish if my mother isn't? Yes, absolutely. You can become Jewish even if both your mother and your father are not. In fact, some of the greatest Jews that ever lived, including my dear wife, were not born Jewish and did not have Jewish parents at all. But they converted to Judaism. You go first, conversion to Judaism is not a simple thing like it is in the fake religions where they just simply throw a bunch of dirty water on you or make you say a few words and then you become like them. In Judaism, it's a lot more complicated because it requires knowledge as well as life changes. Meaning it's not enough to be knowledgeable about Judaism in order for you to become Jewish. You also have to make the necessary life changes. One of them is living in a Jewish community, becoming part of a community, having a sponsoring rabbi, having a certain amount of knowledge and lifestyle that is practicing Judaism. So it's a process. It's a process. What will the resurrection of the dead be like? Chachamim say that this is expected to happen 40 years after Mashiach arrives. It's going to be in levels. It's not going to be all at a single second. But one of the main things that I've seen and learned is that both the righteous and the wicked are going to be resurrected. The righteous are going to obviously resurrect and see the salvation, and the wicked are going to have one of their punishments be the resurrection, because they're going to resurrect, see the salvation that the righteous are getting, and then die again and go back to Gehenna or Kafakela or whatever punishment they have. In essence, it's another level of punishment for them. But as far as resurrection is concerned, there's going to be righteous people from all over the world coming to the Holy Land. There is the righteous people that are living in Israel, that are buried in Israel, are going to come out of their graves wherever they are. Righteous people that are in the exile, that are buried in the exile, are their part of the resurrection is going to be that their bones are going to go into tunnels that are underground, obviously all divinely handled, where their bones are going to go through the tunnels and get to the Holy Land and then resurrect over there. resurrect over there. Initially, they're going to resurrect in the way they were, in order for them to know, they're going to resurrect next to certain people also, people that they're familiar with. So the people know it's the same people that died are actually resurrected. They're going to come back like they were. So if they were missing an arm before they died, or they were blind in one eye before they died, or they had a certain scar before they died, everyone is going to resurrect as they died. And then Hashem is going to heal. So the one that's missing an arm will grow, and the one that was blind is now going to see. The one that was having pain is not going to feel it, and so on and so forth. The one that has a scar is not going to have the scar anymore. But initially, it's going to be an enormous event. But again, all of it is going to be after Mashiach comes. All of it's going to be after Mashiach comes. Whether are you allowed to listen to Jewish music in the bathroom when it contains Torah verses? No. If it has Torah verses, then no. Am I allowed to get a blessing on Friday night from non-religious parents? And yeah, you can get a blessing from anybody. If it's a blessing, yes. But if they are doing the blessings, for example, if the non-religious parent is doing the Kiddush, then you should do it at the same time, so you don't offend them. What you should do is simply just have a siddur in your hand, and just say the blessing while they're saying it without them hearing it, so they don't get offended by you doing the blessing and not drinking their wine and so on. You have to be clever. But as far as getting a blessing from them, you could get a blessing from anybody. So it's not a problem. What do I do if a rabbi calls me up to the Torah but I don't keep? Then you should tell the rabbi, I don't keep Shabbat, I don't keep the Torah, I'm an atheist, or I'm an idol worshiper. So please don't call me to the Torah. The best thing for you to do is to simply do tshuva and start keeping Shabbat, start keeping mitzvot. That's the best thing for you to do. If you simply want to destroy your life and your eternity and continue living without keeping the Torah and the mitzvot, then at the very least you could save yourself the headache by simply telling the rabbi ahead of time that you don't want to be called up to the Torah. You don't want to be called up to the Torah, and so please don't. And that's it. Can you read something short from your book? Which book? The book that I have in front of me, or the books that I wrote? Which book? Are you Chabad? No. I'm not. I'm just an Orthodox Jew. Okay, that is a question. What language is your Torah in? Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. What is the origin of the name of Hashem, or the word Elohim? The Torah. It's the first verse in the Torah. It says Elohim. But the word Elohim means multiple things. It means God. It could also mean a master, like Moshe was a master over Paro. He was an Elohim over Paro. It could also mean an idol. There are different, idols that are mentioned in Torah that are called Elohim. It could also mean Elohim also could be referring to an angel. So Elohim doesn't have a singular meaning. What were the Jews doing in the tunnels in New York City? They were looking for you and the rest of the rats that have nothing good to say. Okay. When someone says things against the Torah, against Hashem, against the people, and then asks me a question that is mocking the Torah or mocking the Jewish people, they could always be certain that either they're going to be ignored, but if I address them, it's not going to be in the same way that I address everybody else. It's going to be in kind. Just like Shlomo HaMelech says, you have to address the fool in his foolish ways. And that's why I call the certain people names, and certain people I treat them with respect. If someone is coming to learn, I'm more than happy to address any question with no limitation. If somebody's coming to mock, typically I ignore them, but sometimes I'll play along. Do you still need to respect parents who don't believe in the Torah? You have to respect your parents so long as they don't tell you to violate the Torah. Meaning, if the parents ask you to take them to the doctor, to go get them a coffee, to get their slippers, to, things of that nature, simple things that, no problem. You have to respect them. You have to do what they say. But if they tell you to go drive on Shabbat for them, to go buy them cigarettes, or to go to a mixed dancing wedding, or to go to a beach where men and women are pretty much naked over there, no, then you're not allowed to listen to them. Not allowed to listen to them. What did the babysitter of Amalek do to deserve to die? The babysitter of Amalek? You mean a Timnah, the mother of Amalek? Not really sure what you're talking about as far as the babysitter of Amalek. Oh, what did the babies of Amalek do wrong? Ah, okay, the babies of Amalek. In the Torah, there is no concept of baby based on biology, meaning that all of the neshamot, all of the souls, were in Adam HaRishon. Everything was in Adam HaRishon. Meaning that all of us today, our neshama was inside Adam HaRishon. He had complete neshamot. We are partial neshamot. We are partial souls. Then from Adam HaRishon to his kids, obviously separates more neshamot coming into the world. Then each generation, there's more and more souls. Now, when a person dies without fulfilling their divine mission that Hashem has for them in this world, then they have to aside from being punished, aside from suffering certain things, there is a part of the process is to be reincarnated, come back to the world, and try again to fix whatever wasn't fixed. So if, let's say, there was 10 things that they had to do, and they only did 5 things, so they have to come back to this world again as a reincarnation to complete those 5 other things. Now, sometimes it's not possible for them to complete those 5 things for different reasons. Then they come into this world to complete only one thing. So, for example, if a person is baffled at the fact that the ultimate and most merciful God allows babies to die, then they need to know that, again, there is no such thing as baby, spiritually speaking. There's only physically. But that baby has a soul that is thousands of years old and that has come here multiple times. And in fact, that soul in that baby came here to fix something. Now, it could be that that baby was Hitler in the previous generation, was a murderer in the previous generation, was a pedophile in the previous generation. And in order for them to rectify another part of their soul, in order for them to do another tikkun that they need to die young. So they came into the world to die young. Why? Because when they were alive in the previous life, they killed a baby. They had an abortion. They were a murderer. They were a pedophile. Whatever the reason is, the point is that their tikkun is to die as a baby. So, in essence, when you look at the things from a human perspective, you're never going to understand God. You're never going to understand humans. You're never going to understand purpose. You're never going to understand anything. But when you look at things from the perspective of the Torah, which is the instruction set that God gave us, because it's not possible for us to know God, to understand God without being God. He's unlimited. But He gave us an instruction set called the Torah, the written Torah and the oral Torah, that tells us how to look at the world. So when you see that there is reincarnation, that no one is a baby, no one is here for the first time, everyone is here in order to rectify something, and everyone is here to fix something they broke in the past, fix something they took in the past, that means that this whole notion of viciousness against babies and all the things that people say is complete nonsense. It's very important for people to know. The second thing is also you have to understand is that since God created the world, He's the only one that can decide what's good and what's bad. He defines good. He defines good. We cannot define good based on our own understanding because our understanding is bias. It's based on our preference. One human can decide that it's good to kill people, while another human can decide that good is to eat people. Another human can decide that it's good to put those first 2 people in jail. Which one of them is right? You're certainly going to agree with the third one. And most normal people would agree with you, but the first 2 wouldn't, and the people that are supporting the first 2 wouldn't. So, again, humans cannot define good. Who can define good? The one that created good, which is God. Now, as far as abortions are prohibited. They're against the Torah. They're considered murder. In regards to the first 40 days, it all depends on the circumstance, and it certainly could, any type of permission to have an abortion during the first 40 days can only be done by a Talmid Chacham, a Torah scholar that knows exactly the law and know when it's allowed and when it's forbidden. If, let's say, for example, Chas v'shalom, there was some type of rape, then certainly in cases like that, abortion, it would be allowed if it's within the first 40 days. After the first 40 days, there's typically no permission in such a case, unless again there's a life risk of some kind. But if let's say she just didn't want it, that's not enough of a reason to have an abortion. But you have to have a Talmid Chacham tell you what to do, how to do, and and then you know how to behave. Everyone can call himself a rabbi. Yes, and everyone can call himself Habib. That's your name, Habib. So everybody call themselves Habib. And everyone can call themselves Pikachu. And everyone can call themselves whatever they want. What value is in those words that you're saying? I have no idea, but I guess that's the extent of your vocabulary, aside from the anti-Semitism that you've been writing. That's the extent of your vocabulary and mental capacity. So yeah, everyone can. You've written a complete sentence. Everyone can call themselves a rabbi. Good for you. Now you could put a little star next to your name and go to sleep. Get a bottle, go to sleep. Maybe get a little binky, and good night. What's the difference between Orthodox Jews and Chabad Jews? Theoretically, Chabad Jews are also Orthodox Jews. But there's different types of Chabad. There's the Chabadniks that are loyal to the teachings of the Chassidut of Chabad, and there's people that call themselves Chabad, but are in reality not only not Chabad, they're not even Orthodox Jews. So it depends. If you're talking about the original Chabad and those that follow that, then they're both Orthodox Jews. It's just that the Chabadniks are following the teachings of the Tanya and the teachings of the Chassidut of Chabad, whereas other Orthodox Jews are following different traditions, whether it's the Sephardi, Ashkenazi, or Litvish, or whatever it is. But as far as the grand scheme of things, they're both Orthodox Jews. Do you think the world financial markets ruled by Edom will suffer as Israel elevates? Well, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says that the Mashiach is not going to come until all money will become worthless. So that means that all money is going to become worthless, whether it's Bitcoin or it's dollar or it's a euro or it's a stock or it's a bond or it's anything else. But as far as short term, if you're talking about not whether the financial markets will go down or up, again, it's that's not necessarily the something that you can predict with certainty, but based on nearly 20 years of experience in the stock market that I had when I was still there, the market's been going up without a pause for 16 years in a row. So statistically speaking and historically speaking, it's more likely to go down drastically from here than to go up further. Whether that means that from tomorrow on it's going to continue going down or not, no, I have no idea. But as far as if you look at statistics, if you look at history, generally speaking, there is a market crisis every 7 years, which means that a market that goes up for 16 years in a row has already defeated the odds twice in a row. It's like winning the lotto twice in a row and expecting to winning a third. Can one participate in a war according to the Torah? Sure. If somebody comes to attack you, you have to kill them first. What do I think of non-Jews? If they're righteous non-Jews, good. If they're following the Torah, good. And we have many students that are non-Jews, righteous non-Jews that continue to grow and learn and what their purpose is in life, and they do good things. And if they're wicked people, then no, I don't think very highly of them, and neither does anybody else, including themselves. Okay. think we've answered all the questions. Why doesn't Chabad do conversions? You have to ask Chabad that. If we're struggling with money for a long time, even though we've been careful with our brit, nice to the wife, trying to learn every day, live simple, but still money seems scarce, what should we do differently? Depends on the rest of the life of a person. How they use their money, how they make their money, how they behave otherwise. You know, it's not enough to know what a person is doing, but you know, if a person, the Gemara in Masechet Berachos says that if a person sees that they're struggling with money, they should give more tzedakah. Why give more tzedakah? That would seem to mean that they would have even less money. No, because like I said, every outcome is in the hands of Hashem. So if a person gives more tzedakah, they'll have more merits for Hashem to improve their financial situation. How can a person increase their Bitachon in Hashem? The number one way that a person can increase their Bitachon in Hashem when it comes to money is by giving at least maaser, at least 10% of their income on a consistent basis to support Torah. Every time they get paid, they should automatically give 10% on the spot to support Torah, without deducting the expenses and everything to the point where they give nothing. If you want to increase your Bitachon, you have to give maaser. Without giving maaser, a person is going to have a very, very limited amount of emunah and bitachon, because the ultimate way that a person can understand blessings in this world is typically through money. And if a person is cheap with their money, then they're also not going to. That's because they don't have full faith in Hashem. What are the signs of the coming of the Mashiach? I want Mashiach now. BeEzrat HaShem. You can look at the Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 49. Over there it talks about different signs of what's happening in the world, what will happen in the world before Mashiach comes. In fact, you'll look at that list over there, you'll see that it's virtually the same thing as what we have in the world today, which means that we have virtually all of the signs that are necessary for Mashiach to come, except for the Mashiach itself. And the reason why Hashem is delaying the Mashiach is simply because we haven't done enough tshuva. If Mashiach were to come right now, the vast majority of Jews would not benefit from that salvation. So Hashem did not wait 3,000 years for him to destroy the vast majority of his people. He wants more of us to do tshuva in order for the salvation to be better than Yetziat Mitzrayim, better than the Exodus. As he says to the prophet Jeremiah, that the ultimate salvation will be greater than Yetziat Mitzrayim, greater than the Exodus. But in order for that to happen, more people have to do tshuva. In order for more people to do tshuva, more people have to donate and support kiruv, so more people can actually know what their purpose in life is. Tel Aviv will be in a rough spot if Mashiach arrives. The whole world will be. There's no spot on earth that would not be in a rough spot if Mashiach arrives right this second. Whether it's the most religious community or the least religious community, there are diamonds everywhere and there's filth everywhere. Don't think that just because it's a religious community, there's not some garbage in there hidden. And don't think that just because it's mostly irreligious, there isn't some precious diamond or 2 or 10 in there as well. Okay, Rabotai, thank you very much for learning with me. Baruch Hashem, we've learned a little bit over 2 hours together. BeEzrat Hashem, you guys will find it in your heart to use this knowledge in your life, and also to use whatever resources you have to donate, to help poor people in Eretz Yisrael for the campaign that we have right now, and to help us continue doing all the amazing things that we're doing, whether it's the free Asher Tzar boxes, or the free hundreds of thousands of books, or USBs, or all the wonderful things the organization is doing. Donate at BeEzratHashem.org, or at the campaign for the poor people, or both. In so many words, use the money and the gift that Hashem gave you to show Him that you know that it's from Him. The more you give, the more you show you believe. The more you believe, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you reasons to believe even more, because He'll continue giving you more blessings. Thank you very much, Skuli Mitzvot. Enjoy the rest of the week, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll learn again next week. Kol Tuv.